John, and I'm in the United States Army, and I'm a military intelligence officer.
We have 5 children, 2 boys and 3 beautiful girls, ranging from ages 10 to 18.
I'm Mary.
I'm Kathleen.
I'm Mark.
I'm Lauren.
And I'm David.
And this is our story. The first time Dad was deployed, he's just gone for a really long time.
It was hard not having him there to kind of like just be able to talk with him and say, you know, this is what I'm going through.
I was a lot younger, so I had a lot younger feelings. I just remember feeling sad Dad was gone.
I remember some nights like being up late to like 1 or 2 in the morning, like looking out the window, making sure like there was nobody around and stuff.
My last deployment, I was gone for 2 Halloweens, 2 of my son's birthdays, 2 Thanksgivings.
Just eating dinner and not having him there, or watching a movie, or just hanging out was pretty much the hardest things. It was just, he was missing from every part of our lives.
I miss them a lot, I really do, to the point of it hurts. You know, there are times when I have to sit down and, you know, just spend some time thinking about each one of them because it hurts to be away from them for that long.
That first one was a lot harder because there was not a lot of communication overall, and then we found out later that we didn't do our part either.
Even though I was talking to my wife and telling her about what was going on, I needed to do that with each one of my children, and I didn't do that during the first deployment.
We didn't get very many emails from him or to him, and we didn't get to call him a lot.
I remember Dad coming home. I remember that. And then jumping on him, you know, we all jumped on him. And I remember in the living room when he was unpacking his stuff and all us kids were sitting in the living room as he was in his room, and we were just kind of sitting there and we didn't know what to do or how to act or what to say. I remember that pretty clearly.
It was kind of weird. We didn't know how to act around him because he had been gone for so long. We changed, he changed. It was really strange, and the transition was really hard.
So there was kind of like a wall, and like he was a different person and we all were different people. And so with the lack of communication, it felt like we were strangers sort of coming back together.
I didn't foresee that there was going to be like a stranger coming into the house. And I don't think I prepared enough for that, or prepared the children enough for that.
You know, I was expecting, I guess, with the dad who had deployed, and the dad who came home was really different.
You expect your reunion, everything just to flow very perfectly, and you're surprised when you come back together and you just have this friction. And because what has happened is you've lived 2 parallel lives. You've lived your life in Iraq, and the family's lived their life back here.
He had to get used to this whole new dynamic because our family had really bonded while he was in Iraq, and so he had to learn where he fit into that.
And it kind of hurt me that they had experiences and they had feelings and they had inside jokes that I wasn't a part of and I didn't understand. And so I really felt kind of almost like an outsider as part of the family during that time. We knew over a year out that I was going to go back to Iraq. And we decided that we were going to work hard before the deployment.
I didn't want a deployment to disintegrate us as a family.
I was worried that when he deployed the second time, I was gonna, you know, when he came back, we were gonna be totally different and have to start all over again.
We came up with all kinds of ideas to keep him connected this time, so that there wouldn't be that gap when he came home.
The second time we were going to make the extra effort. We were going to go and find different ways of communication, so that's where HH6 came up.
HH6 is our newsletter. We send it to Dad every month when he was deployed.
So we would each write an article about either what we had done or our school or simple things like that.
They would just pour themselves out into these newsletters, wanting Dad to hear the details. So it really kept us strong.
We just threw ourselves into it because Dad enjoyed it so much and we enjoyed making it for him, and it was great to stay in touch.
What the newsletters helped me do was really feel like it made them think about what they wanted to tell me and what they experienced and how they felt during that experience, and then I could really share it with them and understand it.
It definitely helped me a lot because it felt like we had a more continual line of communication with him than compared to the first time.
When he would write emails to us and I love my newsletters, I love the package, I show them off to everyone, and when we knew how much he liked and we just threw ourselves more into it, we put everything in.
So when he came home, he already knew all these things that we had done, and so, you know, he would get I guess some of the jokes that we would give, or he knew, for example, that we had picked up running as a hobby, and so he knew more about us when he came back.
There were many a tough day where I just had an awful day, and I would just close my door in my office. I would turn off all the lights, and I would play that video with them, and just seeing the pictures of them flashing up with just a set of music behind them really, really touched me, helped me settle down, and helped me reconnect and refocus on what I was doing and why I was there.
The weeks before he was coming home the second time, I think I was more excited than nervous. I felt closer to him. There's always that little bit of nervousness where it's kind of that first date kind of feeling.
Well, you're always hoping for the best, and then you're always worried that it's going to be the worst.
I was nervous about the reintegration. I expected it to be a lot like the first time, where we both have to get to know each other all over again, and I'd expected that same kind of uncomfortable feeling.
I was a little bit worried the second time compared to the first time because I knew what had happened the first time, but I also know we had put a lot of effort into making this reintegration better because of the amount of communication we'd done.
I expected it to be a lot like the first time because that was pretty much the only one we had experienced. So just excitement and suspense and nervousness.
I was still nervous because I knew what we had gone through the first time in terms of how long it took to reconnect. And so when I was coming home, I was still very excited to come home, but I was also a little nervous.
I think the reality of my dad coming home was a lot easier because of everything that we did to prepare.
The reality of the situation was that it was so much smoother by a ton.
I did feel a lot more comfortable around him, and so that when he came home, it was almost like he just kind of fit right back in.
We had continued sharing our growth with him, and he had shared what he was doing with us, and so it felt in a lot of ways that he had never left.
The children did not hesitate to go and greet John, and we all came and gave him a big group hug. There was nobody hiding behind my legs, and everybody wanted to talk at the same time and tell John what was going on.
It was like we just could pick up from where we had left off, whereas it was not that way this first time.
We had kept connected. We had given the extra effort. We stayed in touch, and were able to keep up with each other's lives.
All the hard work we had put in previous to the deployment and the hard work during the deployment to stay in contact, to stay in communication, and to work to tell each other what we were really feeling really paid off after the deployment, and it helped us reconnect afterwards much quicker than we had after our first deployment. They talk to you when you're deployed about reintegration. They teach you these classes, but everybody sits there and goes, that's not going to happen to me. My family's going to be happy when I come back. Everybody's going to be ecstatic the moment I walk through the door. You can't just assume because you've been gone 13 months, 12 months, when you come home that everybody's going to be happy the day you come home.
I think it takes effort to go from a bad deployment to a good deployment. It definitely takes a lot of effort and time and just patience.
Patience to understand that that he's coming from a different perspective, that they're coming from a different perspective, and so are you. And then communication to be able to try to bridge that gap better.
And so when I look back, I have a greater understanding and a greater appreciation that he did go through all 5 of us to get to know us again, but I think I would have been more patient and understanding with him.
I think I learned that the key is communication, and you definitely have to have the support of your family behind you.
Family is everything. If you don't make sure that you're strong and you're part of the family and you're helping the family be strong, the reintegration is not going to be easier.
I think it is possible to go from a bad deployment to a good one. I think we're a good example of a family who did that. We looked at what we wanted to improve from the first time, and we made those changes, and everyone pitched in to make those changes work. Keep your family strong during deployment so the family is strong after deployment.
Find what helped you connect before they left, and then find a way to continue it when they came back.
Express yourself and be really open, be honest. Tell them what you're feeling.
I would tell kids my age to to make that extra effort to stay connected.
Have flexibility because you're going to have up days, you're going to have down days, but the biggest thing and most important thing is to stay through it.
To connect with your parent, you could write little notes or send them daily emails or pictures. So there's a lot you could do.
The work that you do before the deployment, the efforts you put into staying in contact during the deployment and staying in communication really pay off after the deployment and your reintegration.